All right, hi everybody. It is March 23rd, our first Zoom meeting with everybody who's here. And it looks like I've got about, oh, I lost my number, but there's a whole bunch of you and I'm glad to see all of your faces. So, I start with the same screen in both of your classes and I've combined all the stuff we've always done. But I want to point out that whether we're face-to-face or we're online, all of these same things apply, that we welcome everybody to all of our meetings to be part of this, that, at CSU Monterey Bay, we're into diversity, empathy, and community. And we need a lot of empathy right now in particular with the way things are. And so hopefully you've got some of that flowing for you, know that I've got the same empathy back for you, that together we can build this community and continue on. So with that, I will do my bigger screen. Oh yeah, I'll do that now. So I'll switch to the present mode so you see that. Let's see how that turns. So you can see the whole screen now, right? I'm gonna believe that works. Okay. All right, so here's the Zoom screen. So here's the Zoom protocol that I just want to point out to you. So I'm pointing all of this out to you because you're gonna have a need to use this. In fact, you're gonna use it in a little while. So the Zoom meeting ID is at the very top. That number is important because if you've got a device, then you've downloaded the app, you've got to punch in that number for you to, quote, get into the Zoom. And you can test that out with the Zoom app on your phone or your tablet or whatever other device you have. If you call in by phone, you've got to plug that in. If you've got the link, you don't have to. It just comes right in. So just know that the Zoom menu looks different on different apps and computers. This is a screenshot I took that's off my computer. If we go down to the menus, and again, if you're on a computer, whatever device you're on, you've got all these same functions, but they may be in different places. But if you're on a computer, if you move your mouse down, the menu at the bottom should pop up. You all found the mute button because I'm not hearing any sound from any of you. So congratulations, so you know where that is. I see you've got your video on there. It is good to see your faces. I see several of you already put your image into your Zoom account, so that's nice as well. We'll talk about that later. So going across the bottom of the menus there on this screen, we talked about the mute, the cameras, and thinking about when you need to be unmuted and stuff like that. The moderator, whoever the moderator is, can share their screen like I'm doing now. You can also allow others to share their screens. Whoever starts the Zoom meeting has that power. And you all have the ability to start a Zoom meeting yourself, which some of you will get to do later. So the chat room's there to chat with. You can chat privately to your friends in this class. Only the moderator can see what's going on in everybody's chat. But if you want to put something in there to everybody, you're welcome to do that. And then recording the session is there. You should be able to see that I'm recording this. I think in the upper left-hand corner, if you move your mouse around, you see that you're recording. So those are basically all the different functions of Zoom. The other function Zoom has that we're going to test out here in a minute is a polling function, which can add interactivity to this. So we'll test that out in a little bit. So again, I would encourage you to have your photos on. If you don't have your photo in your Zoom account yet, it's just nice to do that because you're going to be in lots of Zoom calls, I think, through the university for the weeks to come, and it's just nice to see a face versus just your name. So something to think about in the online learning world, which you'll hear more about. When you show your face, it builds that community with other people. It helps build relationships with them as well. All right, so here's our agenda for today. So our compelling question is, how can we learn and teach history, social science online in grades K through 8? So today is the first day of exploring that. So hopefully you're noticing, or you will notice, some of the things that I intentionally do for the pedagogical part of this learning, because it will help you to interact with other people, depending on your grade level. In the online world, it's good to set some protocols at the beginning. So you noticed I did that with the first screen, talked about those things, you all muted yourselves. All those things for most people can be new, or once you get used to them, they're just fine. So we're going to reflect and think and transition a bit here. We're going to complete the historical character presentation via Zoom, and you're going to get to use Zoom. You're using it now, but individually you're going to use it a little bit later. I'm going to talk a little bit about how our assignments are shifting and that sort of thing as well. So just as our face-to-face space is safe, so is this space. Especially in this environment, you have permission to make mistakes, take risks, and we learn from each other as we go along. So for example, if all of a sudden you didn't hear my voice, hopefully one of you would type in the chat room or undo your mic and say, hey, we can't hear you, or something like that, because once you get going sometimes in this, you don't notice all the different pieces. And so, we're forced to a new learning direction, which is probably uncomfortable for many of us, but we're all here to learn together. So here's section 80's class norms. The one that I wanted to jump out that I thought, oh, this is pretty similar. Both classes, again, I didn't even compare these side by side until today, talked about being mindful of equity of voice and being positive and ready to learn with everybody and respecting everybody's backgrounds. And here's the section 81 learning piece as well. Are you able to see that whole slide? Can somebody just type in yes or no? Yeah, I see heads nodding. Good. Okay. So being respectful to everyone's opinions, political views and ideas, and to learn from each other. So just as you know in the classes that I've taught, I can facilitate your learning, but the learning is in your hands. And what you choose to learn is really up to you, but there'll be a few things that I'll kind of push you and nudge you in a direction, and that's part of the ongoing learning in this class. So I want to remind you that this has not changed, that the beginning part of our classes, all of our classes, we started with this K knowledge of students. We've moved a little bit to C content knowledge, and after spring vacation, we'll focus more on the pedagogical knowledge. But for now, we're really in the K and the C section. We were moving more into the C section, but I'm backtracking a little bit because I want to make sure that you're all okay and doing okay and see what I can do to support you, because as I've told all of your classes, students are first. So the content's going to go aside for a little bit. And I mean, we're going to do some assignments, but I want to make sure that you're all okay. So last week I had a little shelter in place optional meeting, and the 5 or 6 people that came, I just asked this question, and the people's responses range from minimal, it's not affecting me too much, to somewhat, to some people said, I'm freaking out, I'm not leaving my house until this is over. So anyway, so that's the range of perhaps that the rest of you are. But now we're going to do a little poll so I can kind of find out together. And let's see, how do I do the poll? Come on, poll, where are you? Oh, I guess I can't do it from this screen. So I'm learning this. Let's see. I have polling here. I'm going to launch the poll, and let's see how this looks. So you're viewing, it says you're viewing the questions. Oh, so do you see all 3 questions there? 4 questions.
Yes, we can see them.
Okay, so go through all 4 questions and answer them, and then I'll put up the responses. Oh, great, I see there's 54 of you here. Great, glad to see all your faces. So I've never done the polling before, so I guess when I do end poll, we'll see what those results are. So there's 4 questions for you to answer there. I don't know what you can see, but what I can see is it's telling me progress. It's showing me that 75% of you have finished. That's kind of cool. Or that you're viewing the questions. So I'll wait another couple of minutes.
Professor, it's not letting me answer the poll. Every time I press one answer, it just keeps erasing.
Huh, that's interesting. Are you able to answer any of the questions?
Nope. As soon as I answer one, it deletes my response.
Huh. Are you on a computer?
Yes.
Huh. All right, we'll have to figure that one out later.
Are you selecting more than one response?
I'm doing one at a time. Like I answer the first question, then I go to the second one. By the time I reach the third one, my response get deleted.
So when you do a response, can you see that you've done the response?
It shows that I did it, but then it just deletes.
I wonder if it's deleting or telling you that you've completed it.
It's not telling me any of that.
All right, so just do the best you can. I'll do another 30 seconds of this. It tells me that 87% of you have completed it. Again, I've never used the polling function, but I thought it's another interactive way that I've used in the past. So that works. And of course, if you're on the phone, you wouldn't see this. So that makes sense too. So I will make sure to say these things out loud as well. And Caitlin, I know you're on the phone. So if you need something repeated or you're not hearing something, please let me know. So as we go along. All right, I'm going to end the poll and let's see what happens here. Can you all see the results? No. Are you able to see the results? No. Okay.
No results.
So I'm going to do share results. Now can you see the results?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at these for the first time with all of you. So we can see there's 4 of you that are by yourselves. Most of you are with family. How are you teaching your class? Not much direction, still figuring out, most of you. And you're doing, so some of you are doing some emailing, but most of you, and some with Google Classroom. So that's kind of the range of what's going on out there. So that's kind of interesting data for all of us. And then let's see, interaction with your students has been minimal. So about 37 of you have no interaction so far. So hopefully there'll be a chance to do that in the future. And then as far as the credential program, let's see, 44% said you're overwhelmed, 33% are ready to get back to work, and 23% say you got it under control. All right, great. Thanks for that feedback. And I like the polling function. So I don't know that you have access to this. We've got to ask CSUMB to do it. So that if you want to use that function. But if you're using a Zoom from school or someplace else, there's a function under settings that allows you to do polling. So anyway, so I like that. That's good. All right, getting rid of that. I'm going to go back to my slides. All right, so that was my checking in with all of you to see how you're doing. So thanks for sharing all of that. So just a couple quotes here that I pulled on. So Maya Angelou says, courage is the most important of all the virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. So you all have lots of virtues, but I think how we are courageous at this time is challenging. Winston Churchill said, you know, success is not final and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And so hopefully we're all ready to continue, even though I know you're all at different places as far as this shelter in place stuff, as far as the online learning. Now in the very first class, I shared this slide with all of you. It says, as vibrant beings, we each vibrate an energy into our learning environments. When these collective energies are activated and engaged, the learning becomes rich, meaningful, and provides a path to relevancy in our own lives. And so that applies online as it does face-to-face. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. All right, so here's some of my decisions as we're moving forward. If you've got questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat room. If they're, as I go over some slides, there may be some questions. Put them in the chat room. I'm not sure I'll have time to answer all of them today, but I will make sure I get back to you on those questions. Know that my job here, the way I see it, is to support you in your learning. So let me know what support you may need. My only indication of how you're doing really is these meetings, your assignments, your discussion board responses, your emails, and your phone calls. And some of you have emailed me, and I sure appreciate that, because then I have a sense of where you're at and I know how to best support you. So know that the assignment content will stay the same. How you complete the assignments will change. And we're working through that. I wish I could say for sure this is how it's going to be today, but in this transition time, like I said to you in the email announcements, that we're going to get through this week and have spring vacation, and we're going to come back together and move forward from there. But know the content is pretty much the same. So if you really wanted to go and work on creating your history, social science lessons over spring vacation, you're welcome to do so. We're just not sure how you're going to present those yet. The other thing I know is that all of you can do this. I know how it's can structurally be done. Some of you are probably not used to this online learning, and there might be a learning curve. You know, I think, you know, we may be in this shelter in place for several months. So that's just my opinion at this point. I think schools that think they're going to be back in session in April are optimistically hopeful. So from my perspective, it's easier to totally shift to online instruction than thinking we're going to shift back. So in my mind, we're moving totally online. So hopefully you'll all come with me. And then if for some reason we end up meeting some stuff face-to-face, we're still going to do most of our stuff online like this. So towards that thinking for me, I'm going to work in this total group right now. You know, maybe we'll come back together for some parts of this like this, because online it can be more efficient this way. I mean, it's great having you all here sharing this information one time with all of you. But I'm also going to work with you individually and in smaller groups, and we're going to talk about that part later. If you don't have a computer or access to the internet where you are, please let me know by email at some point. Yeah. So the reason we're both together here is because this class section was canceled last week, and I wanted to see all of you and just touch base with you before spring vacation as we kind of transition into this. So for the CSUMB program questions, we just had a meeting today. I went to this meeting with the other instructors. Of course, it was via Zoom. If you got teaching and hours questions, you know, then make sure you connect with your CSUMB coach. If you've got institutional questions, talk to the coordinator. If you're one of the people that has done EdTPA or are working on EdTPA but have not done the video yet, make sure you connect with the coordinator of that so that you know your options. We were told that there were about 10 people that didn't have a video yet based on a survey they sent out to you. So anyway, so just know that's what you need to do there. The coaches, as we talked about that, we are probably in this class as one of the assignments. When you do the teaching, it'll be an online lesson somehow that your coach may observe that lesson, or we will record it and you can send it to them, and that may be one of the observations. So again, that's for after spring vacation, but I just want you to be thinking ahead. And if you really want the details from the Commission for Teacher Credentialing and COVID-19 and what they're saying about all this stuff, you can click on those links there and read those directly. But know that our program coordinators are on webinars with those and learning about all that stuff. So for you, here's what I'm thinking as far as finishing out the semester. So first, look at the previous assignments that you've not completed, the previous discussion boards you've not yet done, and get those done. Today, we're going to work on the historical character presentation, and that assignment, if you do it right, can be all done tonight. But again, it's up to you in the time that you have. And then as a group, you're going to start this History Social Science Teachers Edition analysis. If you've not done the art observation yet, then I would put that on hold. We can do that later. As you know, in this class, there are due dates that show up in iLearn, but you don't have to meet those due dates. You're not getting penalized for not doing it later. So if you've already done the arts observation, that's fine. We've got spring vacation next week, so you can relax. And then the other thing I wanted to say to you is, if after spring vacation, you sense that it's not going to work for you to complete assignments or attend this class, please let me know so we can talk about your options. And I would ask that you trust me to share that with where you're at, so I don't have to go and start grading and find out that you haven't turned in a bunch of assignments and then I have to email you. You all know if you're on board with this class and you're going to get through it or not and that sort of thing. But you've got this week and next week to think about it, and then just let me know. And yeah, and I'm looking at the chat room, and we will be talking about the History Social Science Teachers Edition analysis in just a minute as well. But the last part's really important to me. Again, several of you have emailed me and let me know where you're at and how you're doing, and I appreciate that. And you know, I'm more than happy to work with you, because I really view that's part of my job here, is to support you. So after spring vacation, some assignments are going to be modified. What's going to stay the same? Well, we're still going to do some grade level presentation. There's still going to be a cultural group presentation. There's still going to be some sort of history, social science module and people writing lessons. But the things I'm thinking about, and if you go to that document I sent you, I'm thinking about how we can create this, you know, maybe we shift one of these assignments so that you're all working to create online tools that you can share between each other. Maybe you'll be filming a lesson via Zoom and posting it on YouTube or something like that. I do know from all of you who've already done this that many of you know how to do that already. So I appreciate those of you that have already done that. So again, here's my ongoing thinking. Together, I know we'll be successful. The other thing I would ask you is to check in with your colleagues to see how they are doing. This would be a good time to reach out to someone you know you might occasionally see in class and say hi, but because you're not doing that, you see them on here, you can, you know, send them an email or something like that. There are people among our group that are struggling in lots of different ways. So a reach out from you, you know, would help them. So again, just think about those people that you might just say hi to when we come face to face, and take this as an opportunity to reach out to them as well. Okay, and grading, I am behind on my grading. I will get caught up soon. I will send you notes when I have questions. Most of my time has been converting this stuff and some other involvements that I have. So now I just want to remind you, I'm really happy that we both classes got the opportunity to listen to this story. And I think about how it's even more important now than it was before, right? Because, you know, I could just go on teaching and we work on this content stuff and just pretend like everything's great, but we're not doing that. We're kind of taking a minute to shift a little bit so that hopefully you're in the right place to finish this course and that sort of thing. Just want to remind you that in our last class, we did these activities. Again, both classes had these experiences, and I appreciated all the feedback from that. We didn't really get the time to follow up on that much in the follow-up class, but we'll leave it at that. So in relation to everything else that we're doing, I want you to remember what formed your identity and beliefs. Now, I mentioned this in one of our first classes, and this is important because how you move forward goes back to how you grew up, right? So if you're really freaked out about all this stuff, there's something that you grew up with that's causing you to feel that way, and that's okay, but think about how that fits. I think about the implicit bias there is in how we're supposed to teach, right? So for most of us, our family were our first teachers. Most of us grew up going to school and having face-to-face teachers. Then you got in the credential program. Some of your classes are a little online, some are face-to-face, so you had a little bit of that. And now all we're doing is shifting to all online classes. But for some of us, because of the way we grew up, that shift is hard to think about, right? And at different grade levels. So I just want to bring that forward. It's interesting interacting with other professors at CSUMB in the education department, where people think we're going to be and how to handle that stuff. And some are saying, oh yes, we should totally shifted this, and others going, well, we'll probably come back face to face, or they might go back into their classes. And it really is up in the air. But it all goes back to our implicit bias and what you believe and that sort of thing. So I just want to bring that to your attention. And then I have a story about online learning. So in 2000, I checked all this out. I realized that in 2000, I started on teaching online high school courses in Clovis Unified. I found the people, I trained them, I taught them how to do it. We learned about an online platform. We actually use Moodle, which we use for iLearn here as well. In 2000, part of my job was going out to these high schools and recruiting teachers to be online teachers. Now imagine that's 2000. So we went out, the assistant superintendent and I met with all these teacher groups and stuff like that. And what I learned was if there were teachers who didn't do email, they were not going to get online learning very well. And in 2000, there were still people in Clovis Unified who didn't even do email. And people needed to learn that teaching online is different from teaching face-to-face, and that learning to teach online is a process over time. I also learned that I prefer the term online learning versus virtual learning, because what we're doing right now, it's not virtual. It's virtual suggests that it's fake or it's not real. We're doing online learning now, right? You're listening to me, where you're thinking about what I'm saying here. So there's a difference between online and virtual. So you'll hear me always refer to it as online learning, although I'll slip up every once in a while and talk about virtual schools, but generally it's online learning or online schools. So 9 years after that, I open up the Clovis Online School. And again, I went back and found these blog entries that I did as we were developing. So we opened up the school for high school, and then students in that group, you know, again, just like working with you, these students, I'd listen to them. They said, we don't want to just be online. So we set up a face-to-face computer lab for them. We found reasons to bring them together because the students wanted to see each other, not just online, but in person. And then our teachers started doing online webinars, kind of like this Zoom is. I forget what system we used then, but our teachers started meeting with students on a weekly basis. But most of these students had classes all day long, face-to-face, and then they'd have to have the online meetings. So some of these teachers would teach all day long and then have an online meeting like at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They worked a lot harder and longer than other people did. So that's what I learned at that point. So I ran that online school for about 4 years. And, you know, we grew with that and we learned a lot. But that's what I learned about the students. Then I worked in this online doctoral program for future school administrators. I actually taught online for them. And when I met with the first group of adults, I said, you know, I can just give you all this work. We could just meet at the beginning and the end. And they said, oh no, we want to meet every week. They wanted to meet every week so they could interact, right? Talk about things. So there is a value in doing what we're doing here. And that's what I've learned over and over again from the different groups of people I've worked with. So I want you to know that online learning is not better or worse than face-to-face learning. It's just different. And there are students that thrive online and some that do not. And like face-to-face learning or face-to-face teaching, there's engaging classes in teaching, and there's lousy face-to-face and online learning. So there's a whole continuum of learning and that sort of thing that goes with that. And it's dependent on the knowledge level of the online teacher. So keep in mind that teaching online is a journey for all of us. Be patient with others, and be patient with your instructors as well as you're going through. So this is a slide I would share with everybody as I was teaching them about online learning, and it still applies today, right? Is that basically teaching and learning is about these three things: what the student's doing and where they are, what the teacher's doing and where they are, and what and where the content is. It all boils down to those three pieces, which really goes back to the PCK stuff in a lot of different ways as well. But that's the challenge here, is that, you know, normally if we're face-to-face, we do curriculum a certain way, but now that we're online, we have to think about it in a different way. And I would share this slide with people to point out that over time, we shifted from what I call textbook enhanced teaching to online teaching. Now, the world I started teaching in was all textbook enhanced, right? All we had was textbooks. There was no technology. And then we got this thing called the internet, which you guys have never known anything without it. But like I've told you before, I remember when the internet started. And so then some of us started doing technology enhanced teaching. Some of us, when the World Wide Web came into being, started doing web-based teaching. And then some of us jumped into that online teaching. So like in 2000, we had websites and that's how we were doing our class. And then the combination of all that is blended teaching, which most of you have experienced as part of the CSUMB program. So just to kind of put that in the context of where we are, where we're going. And so we're now shifting to full-time online teaching here, which takes some thinking and shifting as we go. So quality online teaching includes all of these things. And I just wanted to say that out loud so that everybody knew that as you start thinking about what you might do with your classes, you really need some sort of content management system. We use iLearn, which is also known as Moodle. Google Classroom can work because it allows you to use discussion boards, chat rooms, and again, like you're doing in the chat, some of you right now, it allows you to do content with textbooks, content delivery with websites, online conferencing like this. Those are the different ways of doing it, and there's lots of other creative ways of doing it, right? You know, so, and today we have lots of other tools that we've only scratched the surface, but hopefully as part of this, again, after spring vacation, we'll explore some of these other areas as online teaching relates to the students you teach or will be teaching. The other thing to know is there are a variety of different interactions, and face-to-face, we create these different interactions so that there's teacher to student, student to teacher, and student to student, and those same interactions can exist online just as they do face-to-face. But flexibility and patience is really important because sometimes you have to adjust as you go. And so again, that gets back to being flexible. So those are my general words that I wanted to share with everybody. And I think I'm going to stop my recording at this point because that's kind of the main content, because the